Welcome back, guys, to my YouTube channel, and this is the first part of a new series called Monday's Outlook. So I hope you enjoy it. Just a quick request, guys, before we continue: if you're enjoying the content, please drop us a like, subscribe, and turn on those notifications for when I next do my videos. So looking at pound USD, very interesting to see how the dollar's playing out at the moment. Looking at some of the major structural areas on this market, we can see prices really responding to the support zone here around 30.32. Now, in terms of resistance, looking to the left just slightly, we have a very strong resistance zone around 31.54. And right now, if we look at the candle charts, what we can see is price is really playing in around these zones here. Not really finding much direction in terms of its bias to the upside and its bias to the downside. Now, that being said, some of the safest areas to trade on this market is always going to be the strongest zones in and around the resistance and the support. And there is really something that we could focus on if we're looking to take an intraday trade or get into this market at the earliest point, is this strong rejection zone here on the market. Now, if we equate for most of these wicks here, we can see that price has tapped into it again today. And we can see that this candle is starting to close with a rejection. Now, it's not over yet. Of course, the day is still young. But what we're noticing on this formation of this chart is price making structural highs after this double top and making lower highs of this formation. Now, if this is going to be the lower high of this current structure, then this definitely here will be a good rejection zone. Of course, when we look to the left for support, we do need to break some of this structure in terms of wicks, because the last thing we really want to be doing is being stuck in and around these areas and then seeing the market rally back to the upside. On a few occasions, price has crashed into this level and lifted off, but to be honest with you, not much. So probably the buy orders around this level are depleting. So it'll be very interesting to see if there's an opportunity to get in this market around these resistance levels here. This is probably going to be your safe bet. If you're feeling lucky, you could possibly get in and around these levels as well. Where price is at now is probably a little too far away to even warrant getting in now. But what we'd want to see is price come back into these levels and using the lower time frames, see how price starts to reject and react around these zones. Okay. Overall, pound USD is pretty much ranging, moving sideways, not much clear bias. We usually call this an accumulation stage, where eventually we're going to see a huge pop from this market to the upside or downside. And with Brexit and Trump, there's been a lot of news that's affected this market recently, hence reason why we haven't had any real clarity. But overall structure seems to be down. We're getting a lot of rejection where we need to see rejection, and it's just a matter of choosing the right areas on this market where we'll be looking at sellable opportunities. I'd preferably like to see a breakout of these wicks areas straight back into this resistance zone here, start to see price closing below it, and then look to short this market all the way back down to this major support area. But that's pound USD. Not much going for it at the moment. A lot of price action and a lot of having to read into it. So we'll just wait for something clearer before we start looking for a clear direction on this market. Now, New Zealand USD has been a very interesting pair today, and definitely some great selling opportunities. We can see this major wick here that was left last week. Price came crashing into this level again. And it makes a lot of sense as to why price is doing this. As you can see here, this is your major area in this market. This is your lower high of this formation, and this is potentially your new lower high. Now, when we anticipate lower high formation and lower low formation, we're now expecting price to make a lower low. Now, of course, if price starts to crash and break above this resistance level at 67.83 and come back for a retest, then we could potentially see this market going up. But at the moment, we are rejecting it. There's a lot of signs to illustrate that there's bearish pressure in the market, and if you was able to scale into your time frames today, you definitely start to see the rejection in and around this key level, and then this sell-off opportunity here. Now, if you was in this trade, you'd definitely be set at break even now, and you'd just be riding it down to some major areas in and around here, around 67.56. And see what happens. But as of the daily time frame, there's a lot of evidence to show bearish pressure. Be interested to see how this candle closes today and see if we're going to have this continuation to the downside, especially down to these support zones here. Let's equate for most of these wicks. That's it. And see if we get back down to the support zone at 67.18. But as of now, that's just New Zealand USD. Now, pound yen at the moment is still not finding too much direction in this market. We can see that this area on the market which is around, let's call it 147.06, is causing the pound a bit of trouble in terms of pushing to the upside. We are finding a little bit of rejection around this zone. It is debatable what's going to happen with this market, but again, if you are looking for buying opportunities, there's no way you should be looking to buy into structural resistance. You're going to wait for price to break this close above to show evidence that the bulls are back in the market. As of what we can see today, we can see this rejection, so we could potentially suspect the market to rally back to the downside, back down to some of these strong support zones here at 145.01, and potentially see this gap filled as we spoke about on our video on Instagram yesterday. Now, this is a major structural support of this chart, and this is a major structural resistance in this chart. At the moment, we are trading in the middle of the zone, but what we can see is a structural high, a lower high of this formation, and a retest of this structure, so potential double top before we continue to push back to the downside. I don't think you can be tricked into this market to buy until price pops back up and breaks this resistance zone, so just be mindful of that, okay? Now, looking at Euro Yen, again, this has been very interesting to watch today. Definitely some good sellable opportunities. We see price pushing into this zone, and we're starting to get the rejection now. I mean, dropping down to lower time frames, it's more of a ranging market. We can just see price just hovering around this level. To be honest with you, this is just another area in the market where price is just trying to figure out where it wants to go before we have a strong pop to the upside or to the downside. With regards to this accumulation phase, I think it's safe to say that you're probably best waiting for price to show evidence of a break to the upside with the retest before the continuation, or potential break to the downside, retest for the continuation. We do have this bearish pressure off of this resistance zone. I don't think it's enough to warrant a sell, and the reason why I say that obviously is because of the support zone here. The only way you're going to be able to get into this chart is if you have a super tight stop loss, and even then, I mean, you just scrape a 1 to 3 on this trade. So best bet I would say is wait, see how this structural support around 126.49 gets either respected or violated, and vice versa around this 126.74 level, see if it gets respected or violated. We have enough rejection here to show bearish pressure. It'd just be really interesting to see how it closes today. If it does close strong, then potentially we could be coming back down to these strong structural highs here, and potentially all the way back down to these major supports around this level here at 123.87. So let's see how this one plays out. Now, the dollar index is showing signs of failure to break structure, and we've tested this structural support today. And as you can see, we have a huge rejection off at this level. Now, again, it's still early to say this candle hasn't closed, but we did have this strong bearish pressure closing below the previous candle lows last week. So we would expect some sort of strong pressure and at least a break of the structure, but we've literally tested it and rejected it. So it'll be really interesting to see how the dollar starts to play out this week. Are we going to have more strength back in this market, pushing back to the upside? Well, we have these levels here that we can retest again. We know that price doesn't fear coming back up to these levels. And with regards to the direction of the dollar at the moment, it's pretty unclear what is happening. So I guess for sellable opportunities on this dollar index, we really do want to see this level violated. At the moment, it's not happening. Wonder now what's going to happen with the dollar strength for the rest of this week. Are we going to have a continued rally to the upside? That would be really, really interesting. And if not, then we'll be looking for some sort of retest levels within this structure. We're not going to go into too much details, but in and around these levels here, see if price comes back for potential liquidity pullback, starts to retest some of these structural resistance levels, and see if we get this continued momentum to the downside. But this will be interesting to see how we go forward next week. Now, dollar Swiss franc at the moment is only continuing its move. As of last week, we can see this level here, structural lows, high lows, high lows, high lows, high lows. And now we had this bullish momentum. Now, if price starts to close in and above this rejection zone here, which is around 0.03, and starts to close above, then we potentially could have some more bullish pressure, which would line up pretty well with the dollar index in terms of the projection of that structural support that we was looking at. And we could potentially be coming back to some of these strong areas of resistance up here. If that's the case, then what we'll be looking for is a slight exhaustion of this market before a continuation up. See if we can scale into our lower time frames and look for this continued move to the upside. But as of now, we're just waiting for this candle close to break above, stay above this structure here, and we'll see what happens moving forward for the rest of the week. Now, that being said, we can see UJ has been testing this resistance zone all day, and it literally hasn't budged. Okay, there's been huge momentum from last week to the upside. We've crashed into this resistance zone here around 112.07, and now we're struggling to break it. So this is where, you know, the correlations with the pairs starts to kick in, and you start to ask yourself, wonder, are we actually going to be able to break these levels here on UJ? Now, it's safe to say we're not going to be buying now, so we're not going to really be caught out. If we're buying, we're just going to be waiting for a clear break, retest, continuation. However, if price starts to hold and reject these levels here, along with our other correlating pairs, we'll start to see if this level is going to hold as a resistance zone. Last time price came into this level, we rallied straight off of it. We've come back into this level, but one thing to point out, looking to the left, that the last two times we pushed up into this market, we made a resistance level hit around this level here, around 1180, and this time we have actually broken this level. But this is the first time price is testing this previous resistance zone, so there could be sell orders still in and around here. So I'd wait patiently for the break and close above to show evidence of bullish pressure. And if we get this bearish rejection today and signs of price failing to continue to break the structure, then we definitely could be looking for a sell opportunity off of this resistance zone moving forward. Now, dollar CAD, this pair is a bit all over the place at the moment, as you can see from my analysis. Price is currently just in a sideways moving market, but something to point out here, we have our structural high, lower high, and now we have this double top of this previous lower high being tapped into. Every time we've come into this level, we've rejected it. We've come into this level again, we're starting to reject it. Now, I don't really play in ranges when price is doing this. Unless price is really respecting its structural support and structural resistance, then I prefer to keep away. But that being said, if we are having this bearish pressure in this market around this level here, which is around 33.96, and price starts to continue to push down and break and close below these structural support levels here around 32.89, then I'll definitely be looking to sell this market back down to the downside, waiting for a retest and a continuation of this structure. Finally, we're going to look at gold. We can see here, I mean, this was just picture perfect. We had some great selling opportunities last week in and around these levels, and when we sold this market, it literally just crashed to the downside. Those holding sells from this level here, absolutely beautiful. The actual trade itself has now completed. We can see immediately, and it's obvious to see why, when price came back down to this support zone around 12.82, it's now rejected it. Have we collected enough orders to push back to the upside? Well, be very interesting to see what happens. But I just want you guys to be wary of our structural high, lower high, and now this lower high formation. Are we just looking for a slight pullback on this market before we have the continuation to the downside? That will then obviously be determined based on UJ, and if we can break that resistance and see how the dollar index starts to hold at the support zone. But as of now, just really happy to see this trade complete. And see this lower high being respected. Price just literally rallied to the downside, completed the trade, and now it's just a matter of seeing what price does. Are we going to get this lower high formation of this overall structure, or are we going to have a continued push back to the upside? Again, if that happens, and it's just going to be a lot of indecision on the other correlating pairs, but I guess we can just wait patiently. Anytime you have a trend line cross with a resistance zone and price comes back into it, gives you some really high probability trades. So if it does come back to these levels here, then we won't be afraid to short it. But as of now, we'll see how price closes today, and then we'll make a bias moving forward over the next few days. But that's it for Monday's outlook. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and as I said, if you want to see more content like this, please drop us a like, subscribe, turn on notifications, and until next time, guys, have a great trading week. Take care.